Welcome to Ask Offensively, a new series on my channel where I answer your questions. I hope that by doing this, you all get to know me a little bit more, and today I'm going to answer questions from X, but you can also write questions down below, and I'll answer them in the next video. Alright, first question. I was wondering, how do you know Arabic? Did you grow up in a Muslim home? First of all, I don't know a lot of Arabic. I know a lot of singular words, but I can't speak many full-on sentences or understand many full-on sentences. I understand some, not a lot. I can speak some, not a lot. But no, I did not grow up in a Muslim home. I grew up with two, I would say, atheist parents. You can also argue they're culturally Christian, but no, not Muslim. Just so you know, not all Arabic speakers are Muslim. They can be Christian, they can be Jewish. Yes, even Jewish. So my mom is from the Middle East and she comes from a Christian family. And I grew up listening to a lot of Arabic. My mom would speak to my grandmother in Arabic. So it actually makes me nostalgic whenever I hear two women especially speaking Arabic. The next question is a troll question, but I'm gonna answer it anyways because it's funny. Why are you so arrogant? Seriously, me arrogant? If you know me personally, you would know I'm far from arrogant. But I think the reason why this person asked me the question is because I'm very secure in my beliefs, in what I say here on YouTube. I have very strong opinions about topics like children transitioning, men and women's spaces, how many genders there are, and Israel. And I'm very confident about my opinions because I'm so passionate and I've done a ton of research. When being a YouTuber, talking about your opinions, about your morals, you kind of have to be not arrogant, but you have to be secure, confident. If you want to be taken seriously and if you want to persuade people, you gotta know what you're talking about and you gotta say it with confidence. So maybe in some people's eyes, you would seem arrogant, but it doesn't make it true. It's very dishonest to accuse me of being arrogant, but not accuse the ones who are on the opposite side. They're not being called arrogant because they apparently have the right opinions. Make it make sense. I don't think I'm better than others. I just think it's a good idea for me to participate in the trans debate because I'm trans, because I've had this very unique experience. And people who have the same unique experience are too afraid to speak up. So, can't see how that's arrogant. How do your family and friends feel about your YouTube channel? Are they supportive? P.S. You're awesome. Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're really supportive. So my dad watches my videos, and my mom, her English is not the best, so I don't think she watches my videos, and I think she's really confused about what's going on, which is understandable. I think it's confusing from time to time, and I'm chronically online because it's my job. So imagine being a normal person in your late 50s, watching what's happening in the US especially, when not being chronically online. It's overwhelming. When it comes to my friends, a lot of them I've met through YouTube, through my work, and it's amazing. And yes, I can have friends who are not involved in activism, in politics, who are not content creators, of course. But honestly, I kind of prefer to be friends with people, to be around people who morally agree with me. And I think it's because I can relax more to some degree. So that's just my preference. Alright, next question came with a message that is super heartwarming. The question is, have your beliefs always been the same, or at least close to your current ones, or have they changed over the years? Also, I love you and what you do for us. You helped me realize that my trans identity was fake, and you probably saved my body and life. I'll be eternally grateful for that. Are you kidding? I'll be eternally grateful for that message. This is why I do what I do, even though there are times where I don't want to do this anymore. And I don't want to talk to a camera for a living, talking about really serious and frustrating topics. I do it because I get messages like this. It's so heartwarming. I don't know what to say. I don't always think about how my content can help people who are questioning their gender identity, their trans identity. I talk about what I think is right, and what I think is wrong, I just speak my mind, and it makes me so happy inside that my content, my words can help people from making a huge mistake. It's kind of funny how I, as someone who've transitioned, have prevented people from doing the same thing. It's funny because some of my haters on the opposite side of trans activists have accused me of trying to promote transgenderism or the gender transition just because I simply exist and talk. Or if I talk about what I've done to my body, but here I am, actually stopping people from doing the same thing. And yes, that makes me happy because this transition is not for everyone. I strongly believe that the physical gender transition should be the last resort because it's so invasive and irreversible and will probably only help very few people on this planet. In other words, without gatekeeping, the success rate is extremely low. But back to the question, have my beliefs changed? I mean, I'm almost 26. Of course, my beliefs have changed, but when it comes to the whole trans topic, they basically haven't changed since I started YouTube. As some of you might know, back in the day, I believed in trans activism when I came out, when I first started my journey as Marcus. But after 2 seconds, I realized it was bullshit. But I will say I have changed my opinions a little bit about family structure, and also gender roles. I definitely have a lot more traditional values when it comes to those topics. And I know I'm far from a traditional person. What I'm saying is, if you ask me, how should society look like? How should the regular family look like? What do you think works in society and what doesn't work? If you ask me, how should women typically act in a relationship? How should men typically act in a relationship? I have my traditional opinions, values. And that's despite me not living up to those same values 100%. I am a woman, but I live my life as if I were a man. That's not traditional. Due to my circumstances, meaning due to my mental disorder, I cannot live my life as a traditional woman. And it doesn't really make sense for me to live my life as a traditional man, because I'm not a man. But I'm just one person, and I form my beliefs based on what I think is best for society, for as many people as possible. And those beliefs are a bit traditional and a little bit conservative. I would argue due to my transition, I have become highly aware of the biological differences between men and women. I was in a situation where the biological differences between men and women became very clear. And I grew up, I live currently in what I would call a very feminist country with a lot of feminist values. So after my transition, I started to question those opinions about men and women, about families, family structure. And if you want to hear more about it, let me know. All right, the last question I want to answer today is, what's your favorite activity that you like to do in your free time? Also, I love your videos and the message you're spreading. Creators like you, Buck, Ariel, and Blair are truly amazing to me and great role models. Love you all. Thank you so much. You're really sweet. My favorite thing to do in my free time is to play the piano and sing, I think. Even though I am not the greatest at both things, I love to improve myself, improve my singing, my piano skills, and it's just really relaxing. Alright, that's all I have for the first episode of Ask Offensively. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, write your questions down below, and I'll answer them in the next one. Remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I cannot wait to read your questions down below. Peace out.